Straighten myself up. I found my way home across the Grand Mirage.
Hi, I'm Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. Okay, some of you might recognize me as evil Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie, but tonight I'm Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. And here on the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make you feel good. The movies and the TV shows that made us feel good, and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. And oh, I've got one tonight. And okay, she's been on the show before, like eons ago. She was like one of the first guests. She's amazing. And she's back because she's working. She's working. She never stops working. And it's so incredible because she's someone who could talk about her career that goes on for decades and decades and decades if she wasn't working and have still be able to do like 97 interviews. But it's like, oh no, my projects that I'm in right now. Hello. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, currently hardworking woman in show business and four-time Emmy winner, Michael Learned.
Hi, Alison. How sweet of you to have me on.
I am so happy to have you on. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I cracked a couple of ribs, so apart from that, I'm really good. But
I know. Well,
it's
as I
painful.
was just saying, so the tap dance number is out for tonight.
Yeah, for today, just today.
For today,
yeah.
We'll do it.
Just do a little slow movement.
Always the trooper, and I've technically worked with you twice. Right, because we did the life interrupted thing where they
And
came
that
in
was fun. Wasn't that fun?
That was
I had such a good time doing that.
You came in and it was like, don't worry, we will finish on time. And you were like, yeah, right. Look, if we're here for 14 hours, it's okay. I brought snacks. I've invited people over. I brought my wardrobe. It was
I'm glad I did that. Thank you.
You were, yeah. And of course we did amazingly, miraculously did get out on time. And Steve Wishnoff sends his love. But yes, you were always amazing and always a trooper and have been working since time immemorial. But both of us are coming up on the 50th anniversary of our television shows.
No, I'm there. I think you're the next.
You're next year. You're 1973 because you're 1 year ahead of it. Because Little House on the Prairie will have its 50th anniversary of its first airing in 2024. We're 74, and you're 1 year ahead of us. You're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the Waltons.
I thought we are in it. I think this year we're in it. We're in it.
Oh,
I'm looking for a Kleenex here. We're in it.
I feel like I would hand you one, but
thank you.
I can't believe so. You were the ultimate TV mom because you're ahead of everyone else. As Farland always reminds her, remember, she's 1 year ahead of Caroline Ingalls, and she's ahead of Carol Brady is like ahead of all of the famous TV moms. You're the TV mom before any of the famous TV moms got popular in the 70s.
There were others, but they were mostly on half-hour shows. I think there weren't any mothers that I can remember. The first year of shooting, and one of the sound men, his name was Bill Flannery, and he said, this show is going to do wonderful things for you. And I looked at him, I thought, pouring coffee, I beg, there's no way. And it had, and I think it started a whole thing of mothers being interesting, that mothers aren't just nice and serving cereal to the kids all the time.
Because prior to this, we had like the Donna Reed model, and she occasionally had a funny episode. She was, clever. She was great, but the TV moms, the Leave It to Beaver, etc. They had the little high heels and the dresses and the pearls, and it was very contained. Sometimes the whole episode they were in the kitchen, and it was like that was kind of, they were sweet, and there was a stereotype for the wife mom, and in the 70s, we all started getting kind of gritty and realistic, and here suddenly was this show in the Great Depression, based like Little House, again, based on someone's autobiography, a real story. And this woman who was real, and yes, she was in the 1930s, but she was tough. And she was modern, and she loved her kids, but she didn't take anything off of anybody. And if Mrs. Walton said this is how it is, this is how it is. And it became this huge thing, this whole archetype. And then, we came in with Little House, but then this became the mold. They would say, oh, like a Mrs. Walton, Mrs. Ingalls. That was it.
Yeah, we both get, Karen and I both get, I get people think I'm Little House on the Prairie, and I'm sure it gets occasional, you must be the mother on the Waltons, because we're very similar types, and she's wonderful. But yeah, it was really hard, and it still is, because when people think of my character on the Waltons, they think of her always as this sweet, kind of goopy mom. And really, she was pretty stiff, and she was sort of tied to her own opinions, and she was a little bit judgmental, and she wasn't a perfect person at all. And we struggled for that, because Earl was writing about his own mother, so therefore he had to be gentle. You know, he was worried about
loved his mother. Not going to say my mother was that hard. Yeah, right. But it was the Great Depression. People, you know, there was not enough to go around. It was like, well, this is all lovely. We have all these children, and we're this happy family. But, you know, hey, we really don't want to starve.
Right.
So you had to be tough.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. And they were. And his mother, I've met his mother, and she was a very nice woman. But, you know, you had the feeling that under that niceness, there's a woman of great strength and a little bit of steeliness that she had to have to raise all those kids, for one thing, and not go crazy.
Right. Well, yeah, and my father actually did grow up on a farm in the 1930s in Saskatchewan, and the tales I heard of how hard that was. So yeah,
that's hard work. And Saskatchewan was tough back in those days, you know.
Yeah,
I'm from Toronto, so I know.
Oh, you know well, yeah. And he had 10 brothers and sisters, and yeah, so it was yep. So you just became iconic. But the crazy thing is, as you said, you're saying, oh, this is really going to do things for what. When you auditioned for Mrs. you had the slightest idea what you're getting into. You didn't know this was going to be a series. You didn't know it was going to be. You had no idea.
I had no idea, and I wasn't right for the part. They were looking for a woman with long red hair in her 40s, and I was 32, and my hair was about as short as yours at the time. Yeah, there was a woman at CBS who was the head of casting who went to bat for me, and I think she really got me the part. Her name was Ethel Wynant, and I always thank her when I talk about it, because I think if it wasn't for her, it never would have happened. I heard years later that she wrestled Fred Silverman to the ground over me, because he didn't think I was right, and he was probably right. I mean, I wasn't really what they were looking for at the time, but she said, no, she's the one, and you've got to take her. And thankfully for me, he did.
And that's the thing. It's often not the first person we think of. It's chemistry. It's chemistry between the actors. I mean, on Little House, we had totally unlikely actors like thrown in together, and it just like it worked. And boy, did the Waltons work. That show really worked. So did your show, and you were wonderful in it. You play a real nasty girl, and you're a sweetheart. You guys totally got all the Emmys. You totally stole the place when it came to Emmy time. Came first, that's all. We were kind of the older ones, but you, I mean, you were so good on that show and so cute. You were likable. You were a nasty, likable little girl. You had to like her. I don't know how you pulled that off, but you did. I don't know. I had so much fun doing it. And it's true. It's like people at the time were like, oh, I hate you. I hate you. And now people kind of go, yeah, I love to hate you. Now people have sort of grown up and gone, it was the spark. Yeah, we liked her. You have to have that spark in the show, you know, well, otherwise everybody's too good to be true. Yes, on the Waltons, my favorite character were the two old ladies making the recipe, who were the busybody gossip queens. They were great, yeah. And Ellen Corby had her little spark too, Grandma. And Will Gear, nah, not so much. He's just an aging hippie. That's what he was. He was this kind of good old hippie guy. As an aging hippie, even though it was the 1930s, he just went with that, and it totally worked. You know, Will used to plant gardens wherever he was, because he was. I'd known him for years before the Waltons, and we'd worked in various theater companies together. And wherever Will would go, he would plant a garden. Even if it was in an alleyway between theaters, he would somehow plant a little garden. He planted one at ACT, the American Conservatory Theater, in the alley, just between the buildings. He somehow made things grow in the shade like that. It was amazing. Theatricum Botanicum. You go to the Will Gear Theatricum Botanicum. It is a garden. It's like a garden with a theater. It's a garden with a big theater. Yeah, lovely theater. So I'm looking at it, as you mentioned, the American Conservatory, the amount of theater you've done and the amount of Broadway and the shows. Do you see yourself as more primarily a stage, a theater actress, since everybody knows you as TV?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm a theater rat. I feel I walk into a theater and I feel like I'm home. It's like church for me, really. Any theater, just about. And I don't know. It's just I feel comfortable. I like the smell of the theater, even if there were a few little rats here and there. Theater, they're grungy. I mean, you walk in the backstage of a theater is grungy, where the real actors live is not glamorous at all, but somehow it always feels like home to me.
I like that because it's true. It's not clean back there. It's not clean. And sound stages on at television studios are not generally clean. I don't know what them 3 camera people are doing, but I know when you're doing filming your big sound
No,
stage, those things are filthy.
it's not glamorous, is it? It's glamorous on Golden Globe night, but it's not glamorous otherwise. Nothing. People only knew.
Now, you've continued to work like nobody's business. I mean, you came out of the Waltons and just like kept going. You had Nurse, which was like a cutting edge show for its time as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry they canceled Nurse. I think it had great potential and it was doing quite well, but I sort of sabotaged it, I guess. I was wanting New York writers,
Mm-hmm.
and we were getting LA writers who were good writers, but they were writing, she comes home and soaks in her hot tub, and you don't soak in a hot tub when you're living in Harlem in New York, that kind of thing. So I didn't handle it correctly. And the producer of the show said, you need to walk off the set if you want to get New York. He actually told me to do it.
What?
And he disappeared and went to Hungary. I walked up the set and then it was canceled and I didn't work for a long time. It was tough.
Well, now that doesn't sound so much like you sabotage. That sounds like the producer sabotaged it because he tells
Well, he
me
did not back me up. So I blame him for
right.
that. He's gone now and I can do it.
But
yeah, he did not back me up.
Oh yeah, you should totally walk off the set. And now I'm going to leave town and the country.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
That's a set. He set you up.
And we did get New York writers and the scripts were good. But I think, it was like a slap in the face to the people out here in LA. And I didn't handle it correct. I mean, I should have gotten on the phone. Now, in retrospect, I should have gotten on the phone and said, okay, can I come out and talk to you? We're having problems with the scripts and can I take you to dinner and we'll talk it through? And that's what I should have done, but I was too immature. I didn't know how to do that. So I look back on it now. I take responsibility for that.
And it also was the 80s, was a very weird time in Hollywood. Things were harsh. They were just cranking all kinds of stuff out, and they were going into that whole TNA zone of television. They were coming out of the serious dramas of the 70s and going for the jiggle shows. So it was a very weird time in the 80s.
Yeah, but the show wasn't a jiggle show, The Nurse. It was about a middle-aged woman in her late 30s, 40s, early 40s, and it was good. Still have some. I haven't looked at them in a while, a long time. Oh, sorry, I haven't looked at them in a long time, but I don't know how to turn my phone on. Okay. Okay. I haven't looked at them in a long time, but they were pretty good. Some of those shows, and the writers were wonderful.
And you won the Emmy. You won yet another Emmy for that as well. No, that's why I think if the 80s hadn't been the time it was, I think it would have stayed on. I think they would have gone with it. But it was a weird time where like really good dramatic sink your teeth into it roles for women, these kind of shows, they went, okay, now we're going to go fluff. And I think they were going towards fluff and they couldn't deal with what you were doing.
That could be. I like to think it was kind of groundbreaking, actually, because it wasn't like I was a 20-year-old with, tits and stuff. I was just a person, and I thought maybe this is going to go, and it's going to be about human beings and their stories. And I was really sad when it was canceled. Relieved in one way because I was so tired. I mean, we were working 19-hour days, yeah.
But that's the whole craziness. The parts that we think, okay, yeah, this is going to go, this is going to be a hit, this is really well done, like some Nurse, this is going to run for years. You can hardly keep it going. And the things where you go and you go, oh, I'm not going to get this. And who's going to watch this nonsense? And it's the Waltons and runs for 10 years.
Well, yeah, it did. And I'm grateful for it. It got me a second family. We're all very close, as you know, and I'm sure you are to your fellow castmates.
Exactly.
And lucky for that, because I cannot imagine how people who don't get along can do a 9-year series or an 8-year run. I don't know how. I remember once Ralph and I had a fight about something, a spat, and I had to go knock on his dressing room door before our scene. I said, we have to make up because I can't do the scene if we're still mad at each other. You know, it was kind of like, as you well know, it becomes kind of like your second family. It is a family.
We were absolutely family. And there were times, you know, if any of us on the set, we had a fight, or like, well, I'm just not talking to her today. I'm just not speaking. I'm not having lunch with you. Our idea of a big fight was, I'm not going to eat lunch with you. It was like, and people would visit our set, or other guest stars would be on our set, and they'd say, oh, you guys think you had a fight. And they tell us the horror stories, but they go, there's people on shows who practically have restraining orders against each other. You guys like don't speak for 4 hours and you think it's a big deal.
I don't know how they can do it. I really don't. My hat's off to them, but I couldn't.
No.
I'm not.
No, there has to be some kind of bond.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't fake with any of us. I mean, we really did love each other. As you know, I'm sure you did.
And what's weird too is a
you
lot
have
of
your bad
people,
days. It's not like, it's like a family. You don't, it's not all perfect. I mean, you still have your days where
right. And there's people you like that you don't really get along with. They're very different from you, but it's like, oh, that's crazy Aunt Ethel. And you keep going. And it's so weird. And then of course some of our Walton people and our Prairie people are friends. As you know, we all sort of cross-pollinate and everything, and Mary and I and everybody, we're all talking to each other. It's craziness. Now you have continued to work. As I said, you are still working. You just did I watched the trailer just today for Second Acts. Now this is actually a short and it's going to festivals and stuff, but I just watched the trailer. It was fabulous.
Well, a man named Jerry Pass, who is a manager and a producer, and he came to me quite a while ago and said, I'd like to manage your career, manage you. And I said, I don't need a manager. Thank you very much. It's very nice of you and all that. And so rather than going away pissed off, he brought me this lovely little script and said, I'd like you to do this. And so I did it, and we've become very close friends. I thought that was so generous of him, and I loved every minute of shooting that little love story of two people my age finding each other again after years of being separated because of race.
Yeah, and I was wondering that's exactly, and it's addressed directly. She even talks about that in their day, in their youth. Absolutely, there was no saying you couldn't have interracial dating, and here they are as an older couple going, well, I guess we can go out.
Yes, so yeah, I love doing that show. It was nice. It's very, very short. I think it's 15 minutes, if that. And it's just sweet.
But it's winning at festivals, so clearly you've got something there.
Well, thank you, Jerry Pass.
All right.
I always thank him for coming back.
Then it's okay. So this movie, this is such a huge deal. This is a huge thing on Netflix that we're not, because it's a working title. It's one of those things where it's like, oh my God, we can't say the title yet because they're not sure. And it's talking about the mother, but without naming names, you actually play the grandmother of a serial killer.
I do. Yeah, there's nothing so blind as a doting grandmother. But yeah, that's a Ryan Murphy Netflix deal, and I was thrilled to be asked to do it. But it was tough. You know, it's a tough premise. And Evan Peters plays Jeffrey Dahmer, and he's so lovable that it was easy for me to forget that he was really a serial killer cutting up in her basement, you know?
And that's usually not the first thing you hear when someone says, yes, the guy playing the mass murderer was so really not lovable.
Like that. So not like that, like what he plays. And it must get to him eventually, I would think, but never complained. He was there always on time and came and introduced himself to me and made a point of coming to say goodbye on my last day. Very sweet guy. And so we'll see. It's I don't know. It's tough to be part of something so dark, you know.
I was going to say that's a very dark thing, and I mean this is huge. But I'd heard about that they were going to make this eventually, and it's like, oh my God, they finally made that. I'm like, oh. And you know, I'm one of those people who likes like the crime stories and reads about serial killers. So I'm like, yay, I really want to see this. But I remember reading things about that his family and his grandmother, that he was very close to his family and his and so, and everyone was just in the dark, just like, no, he's fine. What?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a grandson living with me at the moment while he's studying. He wants to be a chef, and he's just gorgeous to look at, sweet as pie, just the sweetest person. I thought, what would I do if I suddenly discovered that, my goodness, he'd been killing people on the side and I didn't know about it. I mean, how could you be so blind? I don't know. The very denial.
But that's, people.
Dahmer was literally cutting people up in her basement.
No idea exactly. And I remember her, it was in Ohio. Wait, he would have been right in her. And that's the thing when people always say everybody was, somebody's baby, everybody's got a mom. That's the thing. Even the worst people, their own families going, no, he was a nice kid. What?
I know. And it's somehow, I don't know what it is. I guess because we all wonder how someone can turn out to be like that. That there is a certain fascination. I watched a lot of the videos because I was trying to do research about her. And there were a few videos where I could see her she walking around the house, but I didn't get much out of it. But then I watched a lot of him, and he was very articulate and smart and very good looking, but something dead in the eyes, just really, really dead and frightening because he was so on it. I mean, he was not in denial himself about what he did. He knows exactly what he did.
Right, Judge, he was found sane at his trial, although he was died. They later said this person's very ill. He was legally found sane.
Yeah, that I don't understand. I don't see anybody can do that can be sane. But
found sane. They went, okay, you're very ill. There was they had a whole list of things that were the matter with him, and they said, but you knew where you were and what your name was and what you were doing when you did it.
Right, exactly. And he did, and he says so. But he did say in one interview I heard, he said, I think there was something wrong with my brain when I was born, some part of my brain. So in that sense, he was acknowledging that there was a part of him that he couldn't control, I guess. I'm not excusing what he did. It was unbelievably horrible.
How he says, he said, seeing your own grandson and going, what if my grandson seems perfect as the bodies in the basement?
I would still love him, I would still love my grandson. I would, if I found that out. I would still love him, but you can't condone it. My son, one of my sons, when he was little, said, "Mom, would you tell on me if I killed somebody?" Years ago, he was 9 or something, and I said, "You know what? I probably would. Couldn't let you do that. I'd probably want you to be put in jail, but I would come and visit you every single day." I would. I mean, I would still love him, but you can't, so it was a tough one. When he asked me that question, I thought, oh, it was one of those, oh God, please put the right words in my mouth because I don't know how to answer this question. But it was basically, I had to tell him that, no, he can't do that, that it's not acceptable, but that I wouldn't stop loving him.
And that's a hell of a quick, because he says, like, well, he said, kill someone. And I mean, I know people who've said they told their kids, oh yeah, I'd hide the body. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably not a healthy answer.
No, I agree with you. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's not acceptable.
But I like, it almost becomes hilarious because so sweet. It's like, no, really, you can't kill any. Killing people is bad. And I would absolutely go, but then I would visit you in jail every day.
Yes, I would. Every day. I'd bring pies.
So was it weird? I mean, when you were approached with this, because on the one hand, I'm like, oh my God, it's the Ryan Murphy Netflix monster giant production. This is huge. That's what everybody wants to be in is a Ryan Murphy Netflix movie. And then it's like, yes, but it's about murder. It's dark as can all get out. What was your reaction to that?
I was just glad for the job, quite frankly. I mean, I love to work, and I was ecstatic. I really was. I had to audition, which was tough. Right. At my age, I've never been good at auditions anyway because I get so nervous. And I didn't audition for the Waltons. I didn't have to. They just tested me with Richard and Ralph, which is a whole other thing.
That's what you went right to
other actors to work with. Yeah. So I had to do this audition, and I don't think I got it because of my acting, but I think at the end of it, they had to do a full body thing. Were you holding the camera? I can't remember. They had to do a full body shot of me, and at the end of it, I hiked up my boobs and said something. If I'd known you were going to do that, I would have worn a bra. And I guess it got a laugh. I probably
That's probably the moment they went.
So
"It's
much
her."
luck in this business, you know. I mean, I'm sure there were many actresses who could have played the part better than I, maybe, but you know, you just have that lucky moment. A lot of it is luck. Don't you
Well,
agree?
right. And you never know. I mean, when you think of like how many people audition for things, it's like, you know, you have 8,000 other people audition. But this is also fascinating because I was just talking to my friend Sue Hamilton, who's a director and acting teacher. Okay, you are an incredible actress. You've been working for years, a 4-time Emmy winner, and you just said, I get nervous at auditions.
I do. It's like operating on a baby without knowing how to operate for me. I mean, it's that kind of terror. They said that an actor, I don't know who they are, but they said that an actor on opening night of a theater production has as much adrenaline running through his or her system as a jet fighter pilot in battle. And I
believe this.
I believe it. Yeah.
I believe, because I think one of the things I think that everyone has their addictions, and there's, the coffee, the sugar. With I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I don't jump out of planes, but I get involved in strange theatrical productions that cause me to be completely terrified before going on stage.
It really is. And after you've been in it for a week or two and you sort of settle into the role, then it gets less nerve-wracking. But on opening night, I remember once I was doing Private Lives, and I had a cigarette holder. I don't know if you can see my hands. I had a cigarette holder, and I was shaking so much that trying to light the cigarette holder, the cigarette went all the way, full circle, all the way around my face. And I finally got it lit, and the audience applauded. It was so obvious that I was just a wreck. It was very sweet, actually. Yeah, she finally got it lit.
How do you get through your nerves for an audition, or do you?
I don't. I mean, I just do it. Sometimes it can work for you. If it's a drama and you have to be emotional, you can use your nerves. But if you're supposed to be funny, or if it's just sort of a regular, whatever it is, you just, I think you fall back on your craft and your experience, and you hope somehow that you can overcome what's really going on inside. The knocking knees and the handshaking and all of that. I don't get quite as nervous as I used to when I was young, because I'm old now, and it's like, okay, so what? What could be worse than looking in the mirror, you know? So I don't get quite as nervous.
But incredible. And as you said, having to audition, that's a whole thing that people who are not in the industry don't understand, is that people now who we think of as terribly, terribly famous have to audition. I audition, and I know there's a lot of people at home who maybe not in showbiz are going, "How did you make Michael learn an audition? Don't you know what you done?" But that's how it is now.
I mean, ego comes into it too, in that there's a part of me that goes, don't you? I mean, when in this business have you proved yourself? Don't you ever prove yourself in this business? I mean, come on. I've been around for 50 years. Can't you just take it for granted that I know what I'm doing, or that I can do it? But
what would think one or two of the four?
There's a little bit of ego involved, I must admit. It's like, come on, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, in a way, you're making me feel better, because I've been going, well, if the lady who's got 4 Emmys has to read, I guess.
Well, good. I'm glad I make you feel better, but it's still
I just have a TV Land award. That's all I have.
It's nice. It's nice to win an award, especially the first one. I did not expect it, not in a million years, and I was having such a good time. And they called out my name and they mispronounced it, so I'm still having a good time. And suddenly I remember kind of going, it sort of dawned on me, and I looked at my son, and his eyes were like this, and he's looking at me like, both of us, did we hear right? And then I had to get up and say thank you and talk to all those people, and that was horrendously nerve-wracking, but it was also thrilling. It was really thrilling. Calling home.
A bit calmer the second time around then.
Yeah, you get caught up in it. When you're not in it, you're going, oh, well, another award show, but when you're part of it, you can't help getting caught up in it. It was just a thrill. It really was.
It's amazing. And then, I mean, you have also fascinating, like the other one that people always want to know is why are you named Michael? It totally works on you, but your family chose to name you Michael. Was it your father wanted to give you an unusual name?
No, and they didn't want a boy. So I don't know. My brother's name is Tarquin. I have a sister named Gretel, sister named Susie, who's the only normal name, Sabra, Philippa, and Dora. So it's not like we don't have unusual names in my family. I think my parents just, I think they'd had a couple of martinis and they thought, why not? What the hell? I have no reason to. My father, when I asked him, I said, everybody always wants to know why I'm named Michael. He said, well, had you been a boy, we would have named you Caleb, but as you were a girl. Exactly.
Which to I'd go, well, huh? And I'm kind of going,
next.
wait, Caleb's kind of a cool girl's name. I could see someone saying, hi, I'm Caleb. Okay. So yeah, that's even more confusing.
So I named my son Caleb. My oldest son, his name is Caleb. It's a beautiful name, I think.
Great name.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael works now in the olden days, like prior to the Waltons, as an actress in, the 60s and 70s being named Michael. Did people give you a hard time?
No.
Good.
They really didn't. No. It was fine. The only thing that happened was when I got the Waltons, when they flashed our faces on the screen at the openings, they had to put Miss Michael Lerner because they were afraid people would think it was a mistake. My name was, that there was some kind of a mistake. So I think they quit doing that after we'd been on the air for a while. But the first couple of years, it was Miss Michael Lerner.
We're trying to figure out which one does Michael play. I don't know who plays the mother.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So tell me about you. I want to interview you.
Oh, that's always fun.
How you got into this and how
I
you
don't
really...
have any Emmys. I just have a TV Land Award.
That doesn't matter. You don't need Emmys. I mean,
I have a Lifetime Achievement. I have a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's the youth in film. I have a Lifetime Achievement. I have that.
That's pretty good. You should be very proud of that. And what about what you're doing interviewing people?
Well, this is crazy. So yeah, every Tuesday, the Alison Arngrim Show, You Be and Go. I have all sorts of fascinating people, and I get lots of the actors and people I work with, and fascinating people like you from the day. And then I get sometimes authors and interesting people. I had two women on who are historical recreationists. They do Laura Ingalls Wilder and Dolly Madison and Mary Todd Lincoln and things like that.
They acted out. They
I mean the full thing in the costume and sort of like an evening with kind of thing. Yeah. Because you did the Mary Todd Lincoln thing.
Yeah, I did do that. I did. Do you do a lot of research? Do you have to do a lot of research?
Some of them, yes. I mean, some are easier where all the information is so massively out there, and I've met them. And then sometimes, yeah, some of the new people, like if you're an author or a new person who just had a book out or has just started on a show, and I have them on, I get to look up all of their stuff and go, well, who the heck is this? If I've absolutely never done anything with them before.
I've always thought it would be fascinating to do what you're doing, because you do get to meet interesting people, but you have to be on it. I mean, you have, like you're doing, you're helping me.
Right.
If I had to talk about myself, I'd go nuts.
Right, because I've had you on before, so I know so much about you and stuff. But then the new stuff I'm fascinated with, because I said I even watched the trailer for the thing with
thank you.
So yeah, so I do. I try to keep up, but it's fun because it is a conversation. And what's funny is, like with my show, sometimes the other guests start asking me about me, which does not happen on most shows.
Oh well, that's because of who you are, I think. You're a giving person, so you make us feel like we're friends. And you and I have bumped into each other at events and stuff like that, but I don't really know you, but I feel like I do. So you have that quality that makes somebody feel comfortable and like they want to open up to you.
Well, see, you think it worked. Actually, that's true. My husband, Bob, actually nicknamed me the Human Confessional.
You're not getting anything out of me, Alison.
You work for the CIA. He said, I leave you alone at a party for 5 minutes, and you've got people spilling their guts in the kitchen. What are you doing to people?
That's a talent that you have. That's wonderful.
It's very convenient. But yeah, that's granted, we were both on hit family shows in that 1970s period. So we went to all the things. We went to all the stuff, all the telethons and the parades and the what have you, and all the things at that time. So we were all in that weird category. The one I got mixed up with, and I still occasionally have people, because Susan Olsen played Cindy Brady. So Nellie Olsen, you have the name thing, had the same ringlets.
Oh my
So
God.
we do sometimes have the Nellie Olsen Cindy Brady crossover where people will ask each of us if we're the other one.
That's interesting, isn't it? So what do you say?
I go, no, same hair.
Don't make me laugh. I have a cracked rib.
You're right. How many ribs did you crack today?
I don't know. I feel like I broke one, but
hell no.
I just hit the corner of the bedside table the wrong way. That's all. I rolled over. That was it. I have a dog that sleeps with us. I shouldn't say that. I know some people will be absolutely horrified, but we have a dog that sleeps with us and a cat that sleeps on the foot of the bed. And I'm always afraid I'm crowding the dog. So I'm always on the edge of the bed so I won't disturb my dog, you know.
Right, the dog. Well, our two cats sleep with us generally on my head. We call it the cat hat. We say, who will wake up wearing the cat hat? Whose head will the cat be?
He's just, I'm crazy about it. We just got him a couple of months ago, and he's just, I love him so much. It's funny because you just sort of can bond with certain pets right away. Just this cat, my husband saw it at the rescue center, and he said, that one. And I said, you got it. And we're both.
No, they choose us. They absolutely choose us. So the cat like climbed on my head when she saw me.
I want to see your cat.
You should make it. Well, I had to put her in the other room because she tries to climb the camera with the tripod and knocks everything
unless they
over.
have their tail in your face. That's not good.
Yeah, she does. She climbs up. We do the tail on the face thing. So, all right. Well, see, there's the thing. I mean, cracking ribs. You always the trooper. You're like, what? It's a flesh wound. In being an older actress, because I'm 60 now.
I'm old, honey. I've arrived.
I'm 60 now, and I feel like oh my God, that's like 100. I can't be 60.
You look great.
Thank you. You look great yourself.
You're on your way, honey. You're on your way.
All right. I'm 60, and I got a show coming up on its 50th anniversary. So it's like, wow.
Fabulous.
So okay, as an actress who is beyond a certain age,
yes.
How do you feel about where that's going? Obviously, you're working. I mean, there's a lot of women who say in show business who say, "Oh my God, it's murder to try to even get a job past 40." And we've both left that in the dust and are continuing to work. And you're really continuing to work, as I said, you're on Netflix. How do you feel about that as the aging process as an actress and how the industry treats you?
Well, what choice do you have? I'm just glad to be working. I mean, if you're old, you're old. I was just texting my friend Judy, and we are. There are pictures of our two mothers belly to belly at 9 months. So we've known each other. I can't imagine life without Judy. I've always known Judy, and I said, we're not getting older anymore, Judy. We've arrived. We're there, and it's not so bad. I have a wonderful husband, a good life. I'm still working, which is a gift. I'm going off this summer to do on Golden Pond in Canada. I was supposed to do it with Hal Linden, but he had something came up for him and he couldn't do it.
Oh God, who are you doing it with then?
It's a Canadian actor named Walter Borden. You wouldn't know him, but it's a very interesting. It was my idea actually, because he and I had done Driving Miss Daisy together a couple of years.
And you did Driving Miss Daisy for a while. You did a whole tour of that.
Yeah, and I love the play. I never get tired of it. It's a wonderful play, and so Walter and I had done it in Canada together, and now we're doing on Golden Pond. So it'll be great. Yeah.
You did on Golden Pond before, didn't you?
I did it a long time ago with Tom Bosley. We toured it. But I thought, well, this should be easy to relearn. Tell me it's not. It's a bitch. I'm starting to struggle with the lines now. I want to go in knowing the lines because 3 weeks of rehearsal isn't enough for me now. It
3 weeks. 3 weeks is a lot. Remember when 3 weeks was a lot of rehearsal?
Well, yeah, but not anymore. So it'll be good. I'll learn it. I'll know it going in.
Where are you doing it in Canada? I being a big fan of Canadian theater, having done
it's a little town called Petrolia, and the two guys who run it are the two artistic directors. They're called the two Davids. And they were both at Stratford, Ontario, Shakespeare Festival Theater. And yeah, they're wonderful guys. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, because my father was years and years ago was the Stratford, Ontario Shakespeare Festival. My parents met in theater because they ran. My father actually, with Stuart Baker, founded the Totem Theater in Vancouver in the late 40s, early 50s.
So are you Canadian? You're Canadian?
I am Canado-American. I am dual. I got born in New York.
Oh, you are.
I have my papers. I am Canadian-American because the folks stayed Canadian. And my mother went over to the theater one day and met my father. And that was it. They ran the theater and they did they had the rights to all the Tennessee Williams back then.
You've grown up, you're a theater rat too. You've grown up in the theater. It's where you.
And that's it. And so some of the first theater I did was dinner theater stuff in Canada. Yeah. Like in Edmonton and all that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I did a show in Edmonton too. I think
everyone did that. Did you do? Was it that West something?
I can't remember. Just like I can't even remember what I did. It probably
right.
I don't know what it was.
I think everyone played that theater in Edmonton. I think everyone.
Daisy, but it doesn't matter. It was fun, and I love Canada. I love living in Toronto. Before Toronto was Toronto, which it now is a sort of cultural city. And back then it was kind of Midwest, laid back, you know, easygoing. Toronto wasn't a hub like it is now. And it was wonderful. All my friends, I had wonderful friends. My kids grew up there. It was great for children. I miss it. I love Toronto. It's not the same city now. It's even more exciting.
Now you're not Canadian American. You were born in Washington D.C. You're an American who went to Canada.
My ex-husband was Canadian. He was born in.
That's right. Okay, so do you get the dual? Do you have the dual? Do you have the?
No, I wanted my kids to get it, and they didn't. They wouldn't do it. So.
Because I got it the paper, and then they said, well, actually, we would grandfather you in now because your family's like so Canadian. We totally get. So it's like, yeah.
My kids could have, but they didn't. They didn't want to at that time, you know.
Right. Everybody wants dual now. Everybody wants to go to Canada, but it is fabulous.
Canada's great. Yeah, it's really great. Have you ever worked in Banff?
I have not. I've not been to Banff.
If you haven't lived till you've seen Lake Louise, it's the most incredible color I've ever seen of a lake. I mean, it's like amethyst, a beautiful amethyst ring. Picture a beautiful amethyst ring. And you're looking, it's like the Mediterranean, only better, bluer. I can't describe it. But it's
colder.
Beautiful country. Beautiful country.
But it does get mighty cold. Vancouver's not so bad with the cold thing. Vancouver doesn't get that cold. Vancouver gets like San Francisco cold. But Edmonton and these places, that's really cold.
Yeah. But you dress for it. I mean, you don't try to look good in the winter. You just got your hat and pull that scarf up here.
Dude, I went to parties at people's houses where they said the tradition was you knew who came to the party. The way you found out who was at the party is you went to the room next to the front door and saw whose boots were there.
Or whose coats were on the bed, yeah.
See the boots. Oh, good, she's here. You knew everyone in town by their boots.
True.
So, all right, what are you doing next on top of the 300 things that you're already doing? Because and people can see now the second act, the thing that you've been winning all of this stuff, Best Actress at all the film festivals. The second act, where can people see that? I saw a trailer online. Where can you see the short second acts?
I really don't know. It's on Amazon. It's not on. Do you know?
It's like a new platform. There's a thing, DirecTV's thing.
DirecTV.
DirecTV.
Yeah.
They have a whole new shorts program on there. So it's on there. Yeah. And then obviously on Netflix, this is going to be absolutely gigantic. You're not going to be able to escape seeing this, where you were the grandma.
It's going to be on. It was supposed to be on last September, and they keep saying sometime. So.
Oh, everything gets bumped up. It's like it's COVID. What are you doing next? Are you working again after all of this?
Harlan just said, your memoir. I'm supposedly writing my memoir, but I'm not.
When we were in studio, Harlan would sometimes come and I would say, and now the invisible publicist has informed us. And yes, we're on Zoom and we still have the invisible publicist.
He's there. He's right here, sitting right
What's your memoir?
Yeah, I have written a lot of stuff. but I never can sit down and go, oh, I was born on April 9th, 1939 in Washington, blah, 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 blah. I don't even like reading that. Who cares? So I write down moments in my life or things that happen. And I haven't done a lot of writing lately, and I really want to get, it's bugging me to get back to it. I really have to get back to it.
But that's the way to do it.
I'm not interesting, but I have met some very interesting people, and I've worked with interesting, good people, and I've observed from the time I was 16, observed actors like Chris Plummer working and how fabulous he was. And he named his daughter Amanda Michael. He said he named her after me, Amanda Michael Plummer.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if she's happy about that, but anyway, it was sweet of him.
That's how you do it. It's the moments. I mean, it's
really.
Well, because that's what life is. When we remember our life in real life, we don't remember. Well, I was born, and then this happens. We don't really remember in order. We remember, whoa, the thing that happened when, and then that takes us back. And that's about you start with something, a memory, a moment of something that happened that was so incredibly either distressing or hilarious, or both at the same time. What happened?
Kind of like snapshots of your life, snapshots.
You really start there. You start there, and then at some point you can go, oh yes, I was born in Washington D.C., and then we moved to the
by the way, yeah. Because my life was really interesting. I mean, my dad was a spy, and he worked for the CIA, and we lived in Austria, where everybody was. The cows are going up to the mountains. What?
Hold on, she's gone.
Are you gone? You're back. No, you're gone. Can you hear me? I can't hear you, Alison.
I am unmuted
now. I can hear you.
Am I unmuted now? I got muted. We don't know why.
Say that again about your father being a spy.
I was telling you that my father. Can you hear? Can you hear
yes,
me?
There you go. Yeah.
My father was actually a spy. He was working for the CIA, and we were living in Austria. I had no idea what was going on. I just know there was one room that was always locked, and my father was in it most of the day, and I could hear sounds like a telegraph machine. But every time I would knock, I'd have to knock, and he'd unlock the door, and he'd be typing, and the paper would be turned over so I couldn't read it. And not that I was allowed to look over his shoulder anyway. But it turns out years later, I learned that he was working secretly, and he was in the Secret Service, and he was doing. There was a guy that came to visit. I'll have to tell you this one story. This guy used to come to visit, and I didn't like him. And I told my father years later, I said, I didn't like that guy. He just made me uncomfortable. And my father said, yeah, we were going to kill him. My father. I said, what? I'm a young ideal. I'm a pacifist, marching and doing things. I said, how? And my father went like that.
No.
So you wonder why I'm screwed up and an actress. That's why.
Well, you said you didn't like the guy, so apparently he'd done something horrible that
he wasn't a good guy, I guess, because my father. I love
from
my
the
father,
enemy, but
no
he's a
matter
Nazi
what.
or something. I don't.
It's like being the grandmother of somebody who's done something as bad as Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right.
Love is love,
That's a book. That's a book. It's like, oh, and then we're having a lovely time. We're in Austria. We're running through the flowers. But that's a spy. You might have to kill somebody. I don't know.
And all this other stuff was going on. I had no idea. None. For us, it was just delightful. We went to the little village school. We learned to speak the language. We wore dirndls. We watched the cows go up into the mountains with flowers around their horns and all of that. It was like Sound of Music. It was fabulous.
With Nazis, apparently.
And behind all that was occupied by the Russians and the British, and my father was doing his stuff. So no wonder I'm screwed.
Okay. Yeah, that's a book. That's a book. Yeah. I think you have some material. You might possibly have some there.
I could just sit down and write it.
Write it in pieces. Write it out of order. Speaking as someone who managed to crank it up, write it out of order. Write it in pieces. Write the moments, and then as it starts to go, then it starts to go, and then they're gonna make you go through a whole editing process over and over, so you can patch all the pieces together later. So
I don't think I could ever do that. I'd have to have somebody else do it.
Oh, that's why they have editors. No, you want to
never. I've tried to improve. I've come across essays and stuff I've written. I try to make it better. I just make it worse.
That's why we pay editors and proofreaders.
Editors, yeah.
They earn their money.
Well, I'll get back to it.
We do that. What are you going to call it?
I don't know.
Right?
Title, actually.
So that would be bad.
Because half the time
memoir.
I never knew where I was or why something was happening. I mean,
Michael's memoir.
Michael's memoir, he said. No, I don't know what I'll call it.
Well, where am I?
I've never thought about a title because I haven't written the book. I just got
Fair.
Snippets. It's like a patchwork quilt, really, which is what you're talking about too.
Yeah, it starts with the pieces. Starts with the pieces. It's fine. Yeah.
So a lot of
All right. I'm backing you up on this. I am the invisible publicist are backing you up on this, that you need to write the book. And okay, so everyone, yes, stay tuned to Netflix for the incredibly horrifying and in-depth movie about the serial killer, about Jeffrey Dahmer, and you'll see Michael Learned, and then on DirecTV they've got the shorts thing now, and you can see her in that, which is absolutely incredible, the second act piece. And also stay tuned because I'm figuring we should all be on Amazon pre-ordering your book anytime now. Totally looking forward to that.
Thank you.
And then she's going to be doing On Golden Pond. She's going to be doing that, so you can go see her in that. And she's probably going to have 6 or 7 other projects like by tomorrow morning, if I know what she's like. Don't crack any more ribs. Do write a book, and keep us all posted.
You're a doll. Thank you. This is
all right. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're a sweetheart. I don't know if you can hear me. You really are. You make it easy.
I found my way